Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is an off day, Tuesday, October 8th. They decided with little fanfare to have a Halloween event in which they give you a extra daily quest. And so here I have Challenge a Friend, play 30 hunter cards, and then play an arena mode game, and they give us a free arena. On top of that, they gave us I believe 6 new packs to open. Maybe all 7 of these. I'd imagine it would be 6. That would be a spookier number. And we'll probably get a new Tavern Brawl tomorrow in the regular stream. But we kind of need to do an arena run here. And that would be all well and good. Also, cards have come back. And there's these special bundles. So this would all be well and good. I would just be in my standard mode of Hearthstone is a 5-year-old game, and it's worn out. It's welcome pretty much. All of that would be well and good. I keep saying, except for the fact that Hearthstone / Activision Blizzard, which is partially owned by Tencent, has overreacted majorly to one of the streamers, I believe in Taiwan, during a Taiwan Hearthstone tournament, spouting support for democracy in Hong Kong, and Activision Blizzard reacted terribly, fired the person who spouted the support, fired the 2 broadcasters, and is now actively attempting to scrub any evidence of it. Also, it's worth mentioning they took away his prize money, which should not be legal in any country, to refuse to pay something you won and earned. And then they came out and spouted like pro-China propaganda. Now, none of this should be really surprising. Even when Ben Brode was in charge, like, it's been going on for years that Hearthstone and Activision Blizzard have actively tried to sell their game in China to, in my opinion, very little interest. I've seen some of those presentations where they would announce new expansions of Hearthstone in China. Particularly, the rooms were empty by China standards. Like 4 or 5 people in a country that big, you couldn't get a room full of reporters even willing to report on it. It really was never going to succeed. This is in part of the problem of China as an economic competitor and powerhouse, is that they really only steal ideas from people and make their own and sell those. They really don't buy other people's products too much. If they are buying other people's products, it comes with the suspicion that is almost certainly true, that the Chinese government is telling companies and individuals to buy the products as a way of controlling these foreign companies. China's attempt here is to take over the world, and it's pretty obvious, and it's probably been stated outright. Their attempt is to take over the world through currency and economic manipulation. And inherently, this is the thing, is that either the citizens and the companies inside of China are so terrified of what the actual government will do that they will act as arms of the government even when not directly told to act as arms of the government, or they are always acting as arms of the government. The only reason Tencent, and Tencent's a great example, has any success in the world at all is because of China government interference. Tencent has no right to exist as a company at all, and yet it's one of the biggest video game companies as possible. And this happens in Hollywood, this happens in video games. People looking for the small short-term profit are getting suckered into getting in bed with China, which is not a good move. This is how, in part, the United States who I'm not going to say is perfect by any means, got pulled into World War II. Like, it needs to be recognized that the United States had major control through tariffs and blockades of the steel that the U.S. was making, and the U.S. was making a lot of steel. They were selling it to some people, they weren't selling it to other people, they were particularly playing chess with the world stage while claiming to be neutral and be outside of World War II. That didn't work too well, did it? Pearl Harbor happened, and then the United States had to have some blood on its hands and actually get involved. It is not a good idea for any country to have so much direct control of its citizens, and by the extension, so much control of its companies, which are run by citizens for the most part. And if you are going to have that much direct control, you might as well just admit that you're straight up a communist country. You might as well admit that you're either a communist or a socialist country at that point. China is clearly still using the playbook of communism, and any claims that they have any kind of capitalism in their country is just a facade. And so this becomes a bigger deal. And then it opens the doors to, what do I do? Like, I've been streaming Hearthstone every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 5 years now. I wanted to jump ship, and maybe it won't really help to jump ship once Ben Brode's new company, Second Dinner, comes out with the Marvel card game. I've said I was planning on doing that. Do I jump ship early to Magic the Gathering? Almost guarantee you that Hasbro and Magic the Gathering have the exact same ties. They're just a little bit smarter about not making it so obvious. Since Magic the Gathering is owned by Hasbro, which is owned by Disney at this point, I think that's the chain of events. You know that almost every company has the same ties. But we can protest against it at least a little bit. So I guess going forward, unless there's just a major backlash until the Ben Brode Second Dinner Marvel card game comes out, we're going to have a little bit of a reminder here. I have a United States American flag, which is, to at least United Statesian, a symbol at times of democracy. I thought about a Hong Kong pro-democracy flag if there was such a thing. I think that would be a little bit less recognizable around the world, and frankly, I think the concept of what the United States at least claims to be based out of free speech and democracy and fair treatment, or an attempt at fair treatment of everyone, even if we fail at that quite a bit. So it's a pathetic little token, certainly. It's not going to accomplish anything. As a YouTuber, I'm not going to really accomplish anything anyways, but that's kind of what I felt like a reaction was necessary. I will adjust the flag a little bit, I think, later on, make it a little bit smaller in the top right screen. I don't think I can do a great job to make it transparent, so it is just going to be blocking things. But yeah, we need to remind the world that if you believe in things like free speech, if you believe in things like not anti-censorship, which this is a major case of censorship as much as it is a push for democracy, because it started with Hong Kong asking for democracy and now has expanded into China censoring this, and having and a South Park, all of South Park is being censored right now. So there's a lot of China stories going on. One of the owners of an NBA team tweeted out success, and then the NBA also kowtowed to it. It would be nicer if the fans of the NBA, like backlashed as much as I'm seeing, at least on Reddit, the backlashes for Hearthstone. Like 3 of the top 10 articles I'm seeing are all around this. So people are very upset, and that's good to know. Good to see that some people at least have slacktivism upsetness still happening. But yeah, if the NBA stood up, it would be a lot better than if Activision Blizzard stood up against China. And you only have to go as far, this is no new stance for me in particular, you only have to go as far as probably yesterday to hear me talk about how there's way too many cheap Chinese games that come out on Steam, and how the victims of China's government are, I would have said this yesterday, but I have said in the past, certainly the victims of China's government by far are the Chinese people, or depending on how you look at it, the people that are being forced to be a part of China who do not want to be a part of China, and that covers pretty much every border that they touch. So it would be best if the Chinese people around the world and every part of China rose up and demanded real democracy and less totalitarian control. But we are here to play Hearthstone, and that is a hell of a caveat you have to put on playing Hearthstone. The only other thought, and I guess I will listen to comments on here, if people just hate Hearthstone and don't want to watch Hearthstone, it's not like people were watching my videos anyways. I could drop the Hearthstone part completely. It could just be every Monday, Wednesday, I talk about video game news. Straight up, we just look at every game that comes out on Steam, and that is that. And this just turns into sort of a podcast type stream without the distraction, without the video game play. At that point, if I'm doing that, I'm abandoning Hearthstone in total. It's just, I wouldn't be trying to get any of the daily quests done. I don't know if that would be the right move, frankly, because it would be boring. A lot of times when I'm talking about video game news and stuff, I'm either sitting on the article, reading the article as we're playing it, as we're playing Hearthstone, or I'm sitting on a blank screen. So it would be a lot of blank screens. So anyways, to get to this Tavern Brawl, which I just have to do this. We have to do this, I guess, for each account, and then we'll be done. There's apparently 5 weeks of this, so every Tuesday, I assume, we will get some new little boost. They've brought back these cards. They can be played in any unit, which honestly, some of these I didn't realize were banned. I don't think these are banned. So what they did is they've given you 2 copies of everything you can play 2 of, and they're uncraftable, and they will just decraft at the end of the event. So you really can't play more than 2. It's still the same rules, and you can't play 2 legendaries, but they've just made sure everybody has all of these cards, which is nice. It's kind of a smart idea for new players in particular. Some of these cards definitely have been banned and put in the wild. Some of these cards I don't think so much. Like, I don't believe this is a wild card, but maybe it is. Hearthstone has run into this perspective where a lot of the cards that are coming out now feel like they are just slightly improvements of cards that have already come out, and it would have been smarter and easier for them to not have a blanket ban, a blanket putting entire expansions into the wild set, but instead just saying certain cards that we know have given us really a lot of trouble are going into the wild set. and but then they couldn't have gotten that much money. Speaking of money, I saw that on Reddit one person said they spent $10,000 on Hearthstone and are quitting in protest. Thank goodness I have not spent $10,000 on this game. It is totally not worth $10,000 to play Hearthstone. And see, we've got people who are in-app, but I really need somebody to jump on the America's account and challenge a friend. But let's do this arena run, and I don't think the arena run is going to be too different. So this really is just going to come down to, have I learned anything as far as playing Hearthstone in the past 5 years? It's been an extremely long time since I've done an arena run, because they haven't given free arena run tickets, and frankly it's not something I'm very interested in, because I'm usually not paying enough attention that I would actually succeed. So Paladin or Hunter or Druid is our first option. I think Druid is not a good choice if you're going to have to randomly select cards. That's how this works, right? You're given 3 cards and then you pick until you have a deck of 30 over and over again. So Hunter would also be harder, I think, to play that way. So I'm gonna go with Paladin and hope that's right. And then we have, for this arena run, a combination dual character expansion. This is not normal. So do I want half Paladin, half Priest cards, or the Paladin Warlock? I would go Paladin Priest. So then it's just, and see, there was an app that I used at one time that would have told me what cards are best, but I don't have that installed anymore or use it because I wasn't playing Arena enough. So we'll start with the damage all deck card, and you kind of have to move fast here. All minions in your hand +1/+1. That's nice. A taunt. Poison's not a bad card. Let's see. Random friendly minion that died this game versus a taunt 2/3 versus a beast. Let's see. If we start to go more of a mech route, adjacent minions +2/+2. Nah, take this. We might have a mech strategy here. Holding a dragon is probably not something I want. I'll take that. I don't think any of those options were particularly good. Mech in your hand +1/+1. Discover a 3-cost card. Holding a dragon. Do I think I might get some Murlocs? Not really going for Murlocs, so we'll go with the beast. Draw a card. Probably not a bad idea. Lose stealth, not really useful. 1 durability from your opponent's weapon. Might be useful. This gives us mech synergy though. Other minions have +1 attack. Okay. Guess that's alright. Deal 1 damage to each hero, not super important there. Beast with taunt. How many beasts do I have? A couple. I don't think the odds are great there, but we probably do need a top tier. Restore 1 health to your hero, that's nice, I guess. And we'll take that. And we'll take that. And we'll take that. And let's see. Take that. Once we have this locked in, almost certainly, it's been my experience at least, that we then straight up just lose 3 times in a row. And since I've had such a frustrating time with these arena rounds, it totally makes sense that I wouldn't want to stick with them too much and do them. Whereas I also know a lot of streamers play arenas all day sometimes, and they win and they make back a little bit of gold and they make back a little bit of dust, and that's how they got to being ahead of the curve of every other player, while still not spending a ton of money. But I imagine most people that would just play arenas and only put a minimal amount of money in the Hearthstone still are probably way further behind than the whales who have spent like $10,000. Like, of course, if I put $10,000 in buying packs and cards, I would have every card. And if I had every card, I could then build the strongest deck possible and make it much higher in ranked. Maybe I wouldn't put enough time into it to justify still getting to rank 1 legendary, which would be nice, but it's almost certainly never going to happen. Draw 2 cards, cost 1 less. Just take this neck, then take another one of those, and lifesteal 1 damage to all minions. Do we want to buff with spell damage, or do we want to deal 2 damage to all non-Murlocs? Take the buff. And we'll take that spell, although I don't think it's particularly good. Stealth poisonous. So we have a couple of copies of this and 3 copies of this, and this event ends in 4 weeks, so I guess this is the only arena part of the event that we have to deal with. I guess maybe then there's gonna be some other things. They really didn't bother to advertise this Halloween's End, and Activision Blizzard suddenly boned up their advertisement quite a bit. Activision Blizzard in general is falling apart at the seams, in case anybody is not aware of it. Bungie has gotten away from them, thank goodness. Most of the developers that made things like Diablo and StarCraft have long since left them.
Job's done.
I don't think World of Warcraft has anywhere to go. So the Outer Wilds is coming out in a couple of weeks, and that's supposed to be kind of that's more of a Bethesda clone, I would say, more than an Activision Blizzard game clone. Yeah, but if you like Diablo, play Torchlight 2. I guess is your best choice. Although there might be something much newer than Torchlight 2 I'm not aware of. If you like StarCraft, I guess you play EVE Online. I'm not even sure what you do there. So there's almost certainly some kind of replacement game. Or you run into the case where, you know, Diablo 3 in a lot of ways may have been an example of where the concept of the gameplay from Diablo 2 just did not work 10 years later and doesn't work in modern time. So I could definitely understand if they were trying rather hard to make that game feel modern and failing pretty miserably. And as for the Blizzard titles, otherwise it's not like anything new would be missed. There hasn't been a single player StarCraft game ever successfully released, to my at least, like, with the exception of the single player campaigns from StarCraft 1, I guess 2. But that was a long time ago. They've long since stopped being the company that you knew and loved, as it were. Activision, on the other hand, is still putting out almost 100% garbage games. Like, I think they put out Call of Duty and stuff that are just every year more microtransactions, more things that never should exist in the formats that they do exist in. So, lifesteal, deal 1 damage to all minions. Is that the way we want to do this? Can I do this and this? No. So, yeah. The sad truth is, every big recognizable name, every AAA developer and publisher of yesteryear, with perhaps the exception of Nintendo, has turned into a major disappointment at this point. Just totally not in line with what we would want to see happen. Totally become money grubbing. It is part of the problem with capitalism, as I started this condemning socialism and communism, particularly as a government structure instead of an economic structure. Part of the problem with capitalism now, to go the other route, is that all of the AAA publishers, with the exception of Nintendo, again, are owned by shareholders. And the shareholders are always demanding more and more profit, with no regard of the quality of the product whatsoever. They just want more money. That's all. The only reason why any shareholder invests in any company, generally speaking, is because they want to make money. Whereas if all companies in the United States, and I think this is what really should happen, are limited to being sole proprietorships or only being owned by a very select collection of vested investors, that would be a lot better. The problem is too many people's life savings are wrapped up in investing in stock portfolios that then invest in individual companies, that it is the portfolio managers are the ones that are directly acting as the greedy shareholders, or on behalf of the greedy shareholders, who are actually probably not as greedy as they think. It'd be a lot nicer if Social Security was just your main source of retirement. You worked at a job, you were paid a reasonable amount of money that they weren't paying into some kind of retirement scheme that you can't touch, and may disappear if the stock markets ever collapse, which has happened in the past. Right, there's our first loss. I suspect we'll just see the second loss too. But yeah, not that all private video game companies are perfect. You only have to look at Gearbox to see there's a company that's privately owned, and it is run by one person, and whether you like Randy Pitchford or not determines on whether you like how Gearbox is run or not. That being said, Borderlands 3 does not have microtransactions in it, really. Not to any extent that you see in other games. It, I think, may have some cosmetic microtransactions in it. Yeah, because there was a whole bunch of shenanigans around that, so let me correct myself there. But what you don't see in Borderlands 3, at least to my understanding, is an ability to spend real world money to buy gold keys, to buy guns, to buy ammo, to buy anything, XP, anything like that. I don't see anything on that level. So not needing to be as greedy kind of helped them out, and that's even a weird experience, because in Borderlands case, 2K Games, I believe, is a public company, and 2K Games does own the IP on that, so Borderlands is kind of weird anyways because of that, or to think that way.
Greetings from beyond.
Or you have Ubisoft's case, where Ubisoft was, for the time, in a weird way, Ubisoft, during the time it was under threat of being acquired by Viacom, I believe, or was it Vivendi? I think it may have been Vivendi. I always get the two mixed up. During the time that Ubisoft was under threat of being acquired, Ubisoft tried very hard to make very good products and stay above water and not lose share price by releasing a garbage game laden with microtransactions. And that certainly was the heyday of the Assassin's Creed series and other Ubisoft games coming out. Now that they're no longer under threat of being acquired, they completely changed what Assassin's Creed was in Origins, and by the time they're in Odyssey, it's kind of laden with microtransactions, last I heard. I'm pretty sure it is, yeah. So even if these companies know what the right thing is to do, morally speaking, they will immediately revert from that as soon as they possibly can to make more money. This is the problem with calling corporations people, because if corporations are people, then they are also moralist, horrible people that deserve to be thrown in prison, and that's the part of it that that people who spout that kind of nonsense want to claim, is that they want to claim they have every right to bribe politicians with an infinite amount of political funding, but they don't want any regulation, and that's why they're bribing the politicians in the first place, for control. They want the laws written to benefit them solely, which is basically trying to establish an oligarchy.
Job's done.
And yeah, we're gonna be, I guess, pretty political in this arena run. Like I wasn't even gonna stream today, and if it weren't for the extra daily quest, like that's the only reason I'm even streaming today, is just the daily quest. So on that metric, I guess what we'll do in the European and Asian accounts, since the daily quest is satisfied once you just play one game, then I guess I'm fine to just,
Bottoms up.
let's see, if I do this, and then this, and then heal that, I guess.
Job's done.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll just play one game and leave the arena run, and then we'll see if I have any free time during the regular Wednesday and Friday streams. Normally I'd be pre-recording footage. Right now I'm playing Lego Lego City Undercover, and grinding through that. It is extremely slow in the open world stuff in particular to get all of that done.
I don't have enough mana.
Okay. I'm just gonna hit that and hit that. I definitely have a lot less motivation playing Lego City Undercover compared to playing any of the other Lego games like Lego Star Wars, because the story is just so bad and the open world is not well designed to be fun.
I don't have
Like,
to be a princess.
it really does boil down to this feeling like when I collect a super brick, when I collect something else, these are things that that would have been enjoyable little platforming challenges in something like Lego Batman 2 or Lego Marvel Superheroes. I was totally having fun running around Manhattan for the most part, getting all of those, and I think it is in part just an amount. There's a ton of stuff in Lego City Undercover that are collectibles in the open world, and the only reason why you would ever need to collect anything in the open world, frankly, is just to get 100% done. You're unlocking characters. The characters would almost certainly not be unlocked before you play the story mode. So, like, they're pointless character skins to unlock or use. There's just no reason to keep on playing. I have seen no evidence that there's even a bonus level in the game, which usually is the one thing that Lego games will do. They'll say once you get all of the gold bricks, you'll unlock a bonus level. There's been no indication that that exists at all. And there's 450 gold bricks, and I would suspect have less than 200 of them by the time you've 100%ed all the story levels. So it is really just running around for running around's sake. Lego Marvel Superheroes in particular takes the concept of playing as a police officer / superhero and does a much better job of it, because there are, in the open world areas, there are just crimes happening while you're playing as like Spider-Man or something, and some of the events I think you have to play as specific characters to even start the crime events, where in Lego City Undercover basically none of that happens in a live and dynamic way. You have to stand in one spot and scan something, and then it will start a crime event, and there's very few of those. And then there's some basic problems with it. It's just, it doesn't just generically play music in the background. If you're hearing music, it's because you're standing next to a building that in that building they program to have music. But also there are parts of the city where you're standing and you're just hearing lawnmowers or police car sirens go off over and over and over again, which is very annoying to listen to. Where if they just had a soundtrack that faded in, played a song, faded out, waited 2 minutes, gave some falling action silence, and then faded in the next song. Even if you just had a soundtrack of even 6 songs, that would be better than silence. I think the evidence here is pretty obvious, by the way, that I do not know what I'm doing as far as arena runs.
Well played.
Perhaps I wasn't given good options. I mean, we could certainly blame the game if we want to, but at the end of the day, I think this really does just boil down to I have put no focus and no interest in arena runs because this is my experience. I believe the highest I've ever even gotten in an arena run over 5 years of a maximum 12 wins is 4. Maybe 5 wins. And I guarantee you if I got that high, it's because 2 or 3 of those games just quick disconnected and counted as victories towards me. And I haven't really curated any of the video game news. Monday in particular was very, very light on news. So it would be weird.
You asked for it.
I will command.
It'll be interesting to listen to like the Giant Bombcast, which will come out today. That's the main video game podcast that I listen to and probably shouldn't listen to. They're barely video game podcast at this point. It's now more of a personality podcast, although I don't particularly enjoy any of the personalities on it either. But I think they record at noon, so assuming they did half their jobs as a news reporter, which they claim not to be, but they kind of have to be. Otherwise they have no value. At least I claim to be a bad video game news reporter who's just reporting what other people report on. I'm no first source for any story, certainly. But I don't try to push off the title to avoid criticism or claim I'm something different. But that's a side rant. It'll be interesting to listen to them because they'll cover this Hearthstone element somewhat, I assume, unless CBS/Viacom, which just merged, has a bunch of political Chinese influence that it wants to protect, and that almost certainly is the case. Like CBS is not owned by Disney. But I bet that's where I guess you can take it. Is either one of two things will happen. Either they will talk about it, or they won't talk about it. If they don't talk about it, it's because it's because they are trying. They've been told they're not allowed to talk about it, or they've chosen not to talk about it, which they do a lot of that, certainly. Not just Giant Bomb, but all the mainstream video game media talks about things that shouldn't be talked about way too much, because they're just trying to push certain games, certain narratives, or not talk about things that should be talked about. And more directly in video games, you can see that. There's been an incredibly small amount of coverage of Code Vein and in the West, and Code Vein is a huge success. The latest Atelier RPG, I believe, is out, and it's gotten basically no coverage at all. Would this work? Yeah.
In the
That'll work.
light's name.
And then that. And let's see. That. I should have attacked then. Yeah. If I had attacked then healed, that would have been better. I could have killed that. So she has heal too, which every time I heal, anything gets healed, this will get +2 attack. So that'll be interesting to follow. It would be very interesting if all of a sudden this is the nail in the coffin for Hearthstone. But honestly, I've never really wanted to consider playing Magic the Gathering Arena. It's just too slow of a game. Now, in comparison, I guess if I just have, if I'm just playing one account of Magic the Gathering Arena compared to playing 3 accounts in Hearthstone, perhaps that would balance out somewhat equally to about 3 hours every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which sort of seems like the right amount of time. Like, I'd be very happy if it was 2 hours, but I would have to work a lot harder to curate what games on Steam we actually talk about instead of just showing off every game that comes on Steam, or nearly every game that comes off on Steam. Or comes out on Steam, if I can say the phrase correctly. Let's see this. And hit that. And what do we want to do? They'll kill this guy. Almost certainly. But this guy's not going to get any stronger, so I probably should just put him out there and use him. Yeah.
I wonder.
I don't know what other kinds of game I would play. Like, I could go back to playing something like Plague Inc., but that game is kind of too fast moving, so that wouldn't really work. I could play Uno, for better or for worse. That exists on Steam, and mostly I'm trying to limit myself to games that are on Steam.
Time runs out on me.
Uno would be about the most simplistic game that I think would be acceptable to cover. I'm mostly looking for a card game. Like, if I started trying to play something like Darkest Dungeon, that's not super kid-friendly, family-friendly. Hearthstone does kind of have that general appeal, even when, in all honesty, I'm often talking about adult games and adult content anyway, so the idea of being family friendly is not a big focus. But even going to Magic the Gathering would change the dynamic some, like, clearly. But we could pull out Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links and we could play that on Steam. I could pull out an Android emulator and you could have the mobile game I'm playing, Destiny Child, on there, or Clash Royale. Like, I've pretty much given up on playing Clash Royale in the past week. Like, I think I'm finally ready to get rid of that off my phone.
Job done.
Like, I really don't know what otherwise. I could pull up time clickers. I guess that would work. Time clickers is the game that I've run the longest on my Steam account, and I really don't let it run in the background very often anymore. But I was just running up the time to see if that would actually ever get to the max out and get all the achievements without like really playing it. Time clickers would be extremely boring to show, though. There's no variety of strategy in it at all. Whereas I guess a lot of these other games, Destiny Child, it just plays itself. There is strategy in the setup, but it mostly plays itself, which could be beneficial. So this is what happens when you lose 3 times. You get 2 packs, and I can almost guarantee it's going to be 1 gold card that's a common, maybe a rare, and some dust. Well, 25 gold. And a pack. Okay. So, let's run the math just for a second there. To play an arena game is 150 gold. It costs 100 to get a pack. I got a 1 pack and 25 gold. That means if I had paid for that arena run, I would have wasted 25 gold. It's not until you're at, I believe, 7 wins is the turning point where you are guaranteed to actually be able to guarantee victory. And I'm gonna have to re-roll this challenge of friends tomorrow if nobody is online, which maybe nobody will be online. A lot of the people I've friended are just labeled as they were last on a month ago. They last on a month ago. And I was doing some cleanup. Even my secondary account was last on a month ago. I was doing some cleanup on that friend list, but there's really no reason. Alright, so let's then hop over to the European account and do 1 game on Arena here and 1 game there, and we'll adjust the flag while that's happening. Hey, we've got a friend invite.
Hold on to your mug.
So now we're on the European account. So this is what it shows. Tombs of the Treasure Agent cards have been unleashed to join your collection for a limited time. These cards are now available for everybody to play. And some of these cards do kind of make sense that they should have been banned. Some of these don't make so much sense. And some of these are just straight up crazy cards, like Astral Communion. That's like a great card to have in your card game because it does something crazy. It gives you 10 mana crystals but discards your entire hand on the 4th turn. Gain 10 armor, refresh your mana crystals. That's cool. Some of these cards are clearly still Winded Flamewalker or Babbling Book become banned. That seems crazy. And frankly, they shouldn't just bring them back for a limited time. They should really consider bringing back some of them forever. And maybe that would be the one thing that would catch people's attention. So you get 1 pack of a special pack, and then 2 of one class and 2 of the other class. And I'm just sitting on card packs, and I guess we would do a farewell stream. I guess that would be the right thing to do. So, yeah. If we were gonna fully abandon Hearthstone, which it would be incremental to say the least. Let's go ahead and accept that friend request. First things first. Then we re-rolled. This has play 3 Tavern Brawls, and we'll do that tomorrow when we get the new Tavern Brawl, which will probably be Halloween themed also. I want to come in here and just see if the flag is in a decent position now. Still could be a little bit smaller, but it's fine. Alright. Yeah. So I guess we would do a farewell stream. It would be my general idea. If I decided that I was going to just completely abandon Hearthstone, we'd do a farewell stream, we'd open up all the card packs, we would show it off, and that would be that. The sad thing is, a lot of this just boils down to what the views are on my channel. Like, at one point, live streaming Hearthstone during the big expansions, if I get in right during the noon time when the expansions came out, at that one point, like, I on occasions have gotten several hundred extra views compared to basically getting no views. But on a daily case, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, most of my views are in the single digits, if I get any views at all. So it's not like there's a raving community of Hearthstone fans that are watching my content compared to any other content. How much of that is me and how much of that is Hearthstone is always a question, I guess, to ask. But a hard question to answer, certainly. So, moving on to something else, or just saving my time in general, might be a better move. And I'm looking here, but I'm not really looking too hard. Yeah. There's just kind of a problem in general. It seems with a lot of these arena runs, you really have to know the cards backwards and forwards, or you have to use the app, and I think most people are using the app, and that in part I think is what hurt this game, Hearthstone, in its development probably 2, 3, 4 years into it, is that the average player at some point lost out to the net deck player, the people who were going to hsreplay.net, and even I was doing it. Like, I still would go to hsreplay.net and get the best meta deck I can possibly get, but that kills it. That really ruins the new player experience for anybody that doesn't know what net decks are and how to use them. And I guess the only way you fix that in a positive way is to constantly add new wild cards, or in some other way devalue cards, make them more equal, not evil, although some more evil cards would be also nice. I guess it is also worth mentioning that Hearthstone censorship didn't just start like now. They censored the art just a couple of months ago, and people were not happy with them. People didn't really do anything about it, but they certainly weren't happy when the artwork started to go back and be censored more. But yeah, this game needed, they needed to focus on more random cards, more things that just could flip a coin and guarantee a victory very quickly and very easily. Something that you'd never really play in ranked, even if you had only 1 out of 3 chances. If it was a if it was a lose-lose win 3-sided coin, for lack of a better item descriptor, new players would play that. I would totally play that. I would love if there was a crazy card that you played at the start of the game and it just said flip a coin. If it's heads, you win, or flip 3 coins if 2 are heads, you win. If 2 are tails, you lose. Or I don't know how you would really break that down. So it was a 1/3 option to lose. Flip 2 coins. If either one is tails, you lose. I guess would probably be the best way you would do that. And just play that at the beginning of the game. There's plenty of times I've had daily quests where it's just win a game, and I'd totally be willing to play on casual and just do that, and it would save so much time. Whereas what happens in Hearthstone more often than not is I have to go off screen, I have to spend another 4 to 8 hours plus just trying to get the daily quest done, getting victories. And that's not particularly fun for anybody. And often I'll just start a game when playing off screen and then walk away. I'll just hope that the other player gets frustrated and concedes and moves to another game. And that was frankly happening even in the earliest days of me playing Hearthstone, even before I was streaming. There were daily quests that were just frustrating, and I was walking away and just hoping people would concede, because I was playing Hearthstone for a little bit before I started streaming. So that sucks. Yeah, there just really isn't a great experience. And Hearthstone has only really focused on their tournament players, the people who are streamers, the people who will play the game no matter what until they stop getting views, and then they'll abandon it very quickly. And that's where you have people like Disguised Toast coming in and saying, "Oh, I'm tired of playing this game."
The brain buys you no rest.
I want answers.
And yeah, I would have moved over to Gwent, but Gwent is not complicated enough, and frankly, while popular is not popular enough, Magic Arena really is the only choice. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links game on Steam is different than standard Yu-Gi-Oh! The rules are slightly different, which might irritate a few people. Okay. Well, let's do this.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
And I'd hoped that this would have been resummoned with the buffs, but clearly not. Yeah, it's funny. I have like 1,000 games on my Steam account. I can't think of one that makes sense to go back and try and stream. And a weekly news stream is necessary. It is something I would want to do. I do want to personally be mentally informed about events and news that's going on. So it's not something that I'd want to skip out on. But yeah, if I just had a Monday stream, if I just had a Wednesday stream, like I think Wednesday would probably be a great day to have a midweek news, single weekly stream there. That would work. And I guess Time Clickers would be on the short list of games that could just run. Like it could be in the background as a screensaver. I still don't want to do a face cam. There's literally nothing that my face could add to the presentation, in my opinion.
You smell like a leopard.
So yeah, that's something I wouldn't want to go with. 2-1-1 sapling, this, and this.
I want answers.
And that. Might actually win here, which would be a surprise. So I guess let me know in the comments. You can friend me on Steam, and I ask people to friend me on Steam. Whether you then support me by gifting me gift cards or games off my wish list is a secondary ask. But you can friend me on Steam and see what's in my library. Like off my profile page, you can see what games I own. So if you see something there that jumps out as, hey, this is a game that actually would work on a weekly basis as something that that would just happen pretty well, or happen to be very good to cover. Alright, well, that kills that. And that can kill that. And then I can kill that with that, and that with that. There certainly are some long games. I wouldn't want to go back and play Skyrim, and I really wouldn't want to go back and play Borderlands or anything like that. Although Borderlands 2 would make sense, I've pretty much sworn off playing Borderlands things because of 2K being bad. More than even what Randy Pitchford said or did. The DMCA abuse is the main thing that gets you blacklisted from my channel. I really wouldn't want to go back and play Plague Inc. or Binding of Isaac. There is some Binding of Isaac I do need to go back and play. There are definitely some evolutions of that I have not purchased or played.
What to do?
But doing weekly runs of that would be difficult and time consuming. You don't get any good ad hoc point to pause the game and say, this is where I'm going to stop, this is where I'm going to wrap up an episode. In the Binding of Isaac, you just have to kind of pause the game and leave it. That's the true for most games. What is going to save me more? A spell or a minion? I would say a spell has a better chance. Draw a card. If it's a beast, it costs 2 less. Okay. So, how do we want to do this? Oh well, we just win. We kill, then we attack, He figured it out. I didn't. Okay. And that gave us some progress as far as destroying minions. And so Wednesday we'll continue the arena run and have to also do the tavern brawl. So now let's go over to the Asian account and do that one thing also. Do one game in the arena run and get that 200 gold single player expansion. One assumes, had I not left enough room for an extra daily quest, then there would have just been either one in a backlog or one that was missed. The daily quests in particular are a problem. They are a huge problem in the way they pile up. Like, in all honesty, if we haven't even gotten the third daily quest for the Asian account yet, if it just let you have 5 or 7 of these stack up, and then once a week you could play and everything would overlap, and you'd be able to accomplish more by playing the same amount of games, it would be much nicer. So yeah, there's nothing to do here. We don't have any new friend requests on the Asian account. That's no big surprise. The Asian account basically have no followers that play on the Asian account, which kind of makes sense. Guess we're going with Paladin again. And then I guess we're going with Priest again. We'll just do the same thing twice. Start with a mech, and then we'll try and stick with as many mechs as possible. Or was that pirates? That was pirates. Oops. We'll try to summon as many pirates as possible. Which is probably very few. Let's see. Just gotta pick things. That's all this really boils down to, is just pick things. Whatever you think might be good. This is probably better than those two commons. But yeah, I'm very much, video game wise, fast twitch wise, I just want to play the as fast as possible with like fast twitch movements. I don't want to have to really think. I don't want to really have to go to some other website. I don't want to have to play some kind of hardcore strategy that most people are still going to be able to beat me with, because I don't know how to play the strategy well enough. So even if you get a net deck, this is always the problem, is even if you have a net deck, you kind of have to understand what that deck can do and what the strategy for that deck is. And if you don't understand that, then you're still going to be doomed to failure. Yeah, this is a pretty later game deck than normal. Alright, that's a collection of cards. That's a collection of cards. That's pretty much all you can say about it. Let's see. Let me just... I'm gonna just bring up my Steam page and then move it over to my second monitor. And I'm just going to look at Steam library, which doesn't want to...
I will fight with honor.
Doesn't want to really do that. Installed games. 11,173 games. A lot of those, maybe 173 of those, I've actually covered on my channel. Some of them not things that I would ever cover. And they're somewhat categorized, so one assumes adventure and point and click games would not be games that I could play. I could play pinball. I guess I could do that, yeah. So I could play Pinball Arcade every Wednesday, and the problem with that is I like pinball way more than I like Hearthstone, so I would be interested in actually playing, and that would distract me. Play racing games, that would only work for, I guess, a brief amount of time. That'd be pretty boring, I think, to most people. I could play RPG games, like I have the entire Dungeon Siege series. That would be weird, certainly. And I don't know how you break up that. Yeah, I don't know how I do that. Frankly, if I was gonna do that, I should play Torchlight 2, see if I can really fall in love with Torchlight 2, and then play a new game plus on that. If I was gonna use that to replace Hearthstone. Counter-Strike. I don't think I'd be playing Counter-Strike ever for any reason. Yeah, same is true for Half-Life. Left 4 Dead I do want to cover, but it's not something I really want to play consistently. So a lot of these games I could play for maybe a couple of weeks and make some awkward footage using it, but they wouldn't consistently work for the 5 years, for example, that this has worked for.
Fine, I'll want.
Command and Conquer. I do have Command and Conquer 3 and 4 in Red Alert. Again, those are all things that would need actual coverage before I just start playing them casually, which that's where all of this is going to boil down to, is that like XCOM UFO Defense, I believe, is the first XCOM game.
Let me think.
Recruit 3 minions that cost 2 less. Choose an enemy minion, shuffle it into your deck.
Fine, I'll want.
I've got some Sonic games, those really wouldn't make sense. Darwinia, Uplink, things like that really are way too complicated. Let's see. Random 1 cost a minion. This.
Fine, I'll want.
Job done.
How did he do so much damage to me?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I can barely read the list on my second monitor. My monitor is too small, too far away. Both my monitors are too small and too far away. Playing Disney games and kids games don't really make sense.
Fine, I'll want.
Job done.
See, what free-to-play games do I have? Not really anything worth mentioning. Halloween scary games don't make sense. Lego games don't make sense. Myst games don't make sense. Solitaire games, free cell games, things like that don't really make sense. Pinball is a decent thought. Adult games certainly don't make sense. Yeah. So, yeah, I would say friend me on Steam and look at my collection of games, and just if there's something on Steam that is worth playing over and over again. Darkest Dungeon might be the best thing that I have. I think I own Darkest Dungeon. That sort of would be a replacement for Hearthstone. None of them are really card games. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links would be a consideration. The benefit in part for doing Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links is also the fact there that since Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a Japanese company, they certainly aren't going to try too hard to kowtow to China, for better or worse of that, which that might be where that comes down to, whereas any number of other companies in the video game world and just in general, most of which are all United States based and thus the US flag, it's like, remember that this stands in part to many people for freedom, anti-censorship, democracy, things that China absolutely does not stand for. This has definitely been a weird one, and I will just leave it at that. I'm not even sure I'm going to bother to label this video as a special run. This may just be a special addendum of Hearthstone and video game news, because we did have that one news story to talk about pretty much, and Hearthstone. That's going to be it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. Comment down below, what game should I replace Hearthstone with, if I need to replace Hearthstone with right now. I had one in mind, but that game is not out yet, so we need something temporarily, I guess, in between then. Like, share, comment. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.